Hello, everyone, and welcome to our very first inaugural Star Wars Wednesday stream. I'm very excited to be here. Sorry for the little delay. We were trying to figure things out on some technical ends, but I think we're all smooth and ready to go. So let's just dive in. I have myself a Lando who is coming out for Legion in Simone's in the chat. She's going to help me out. I want to say it's April. I believe that Lando and no, March. March is the next month from here. Haha. So I believe they'll be coming out in March. So we're gonna have some fun. We're gonna put some paint on this fellow. We're gonna talk a little bit about just overall design, things like that. We're mostly just gonna riff on the hobby though. I was trying to get Luke in here to chat with us, but unfortunately the Wirecast system was just not behaving before the stream, and I didn't want to delay too long. So we're gonna be bringing Luke on to talk more design stuff on the next stream. So he'll have some insights to give us on Lando and a couple of other things that we're talking about. So we're gonna have all of that good stuff going on. Otherwise, I'm sure he's in the chat and just hanging out along with Simone and several of my other AMG compatriots. With that said, let's get this camera off of me and on to the star of the show, which is going to be Lando Calrissian. So here's our Lando sculpt that we're going to be working on, the miniature. I've done something that we always do on a lot of our hobby streams that we really like. We have basically put this guy on a Zenith Prime for the highlighting. And we're just going to go ahead and start throwing in colors on this fella and have a lot of fun with that. Now, he is in kind of his Return of the Jedi duds, so he's got the general insignia on his chest and stuff, so I'm going to be using that as inspiration, but of course, depending on which image you look for this guy, you're going to find a lot of different color variations because of the cameras and all the different photo filtering at the time. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and we're just going to dive right in and do our best to kind of pick out the right colors. And we're going to start off by rocking, I think we'll just start off with the pants. I love starting with the pants on the miniatures. It's always a good time. So we'll just see how it goes. He does have a lot of different options. Like you have several different capes. So here's one cape option. And the reason being is that he does have a different torso. So you can actually have him drawing his gun. And that torso actually goes into the different capes. If you can see that there, I know my fat fingers are kind of in the way, but you can alternate his different capes. So this is more of his Cloud City cape, where he's got the fancy gold like filigree lame stuff on the inside, and that works with either torso, or you can do what I've done here, which is Lando with gun drawn, ready to fight. So looking at the cape colors, I've kind of landed on the fact that his cape is a little periwinkle. It's got a bit of violet to it. It's also got a little bit of blue. I don't really have a great periwinkle corollary, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab some of this sunset purple from scale 75, and I'm going to mix that with a little bit of a lighter powder blue. I think we're going to go really light and just see what happens. I'm going to use Arctic Blue, which is one of my favorites. It's a nice blue-white. And I'm just going to mash these two together, and we're going to see if we can come up with kind of a lighter periwinkle that we can put over the cloak and go from there. I'm going to throw my paints in the ground too, because that's really cool. So, all right. So here we go. Let's dive right into it. I'm going to, that's true, Simone did choose. This was all Simone. I'm going to start mixing up my colors. I'm just working on the palette. Ooh, that's pretty lavendery. I'm going to add in a little bit more of this. All right. Yeah, this is pretty close. I think we can tint it down with a blue. So this is going to look really, really lavendery to start. You can see right there on my thumb. It's kind of the color I'm picking here. I'm going to thin that out. And for those of you who don't normally watch, I always have a second brush in my mouth. And I keep that brush there so that I can use it to blend. I can use it to clean up mistakes. Having that secondary brush ready to help erase mistakes, it's kind of like your magic eraser, can be a really huge bonus to everything that's going on. So I'm just going to dive right in, and I've turned my fancy kind of lavender periwinkle into a wash. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to wash this over the entirety of the cape. This is going to look really light and a little bit springtime-ish. We're going to use some blue washes to tone this back down. The reason that I'm using a wash is that I want that I want that Zenith Prime highlight, which is taking a darker gray, spraying the entire miniature in the dark gray, and then taking a lighter gray color or a white and spraying it kind of at a 45-degree angle to catch all of the highlights to do the work for me. So where those folds are, the darker primer is going to show through, and that's going to cause my colors to be darker. And where the lighter color is, it's going to cause that wash to be lighter. So this is kind of a high contrast level way to paint. And it works really well. You can do it with any kind of paint line that you have. It's all washing is a technique. It is not a specific type of paint. So you can make anything into a wash basically. It just requires liquid. So water typically, and then sometimes painting medium. We're gonna just play around with this and make sure that we get in that cape. I'm gonna try to do my best to avoid getting it on his pants. But if I do, I can either use my secondary brush to clean up that mistake, or we can just kind of trust that people aren't going to see it. And that's another thing for the folks who are new to the stream. Welcome. I'm so excited that you made it. Looking forward to hanging out with you all every Wednesday, talking cool stuff about Star Wars, Legion, X-Wing, some Armada in there, I'm sure. I just want this to have just be fun. We're definitely going to always be putting paint on something, and then, we'll have time to talk and chat. I'm sure that you'll get to hear about my foray into my new clone army that I'm starting for Legion. I might be convinced to do maybe a little bit of Separatists as well at the same time, just so that we can have 2 different armies going on in the house. My boys can reenact their Clone Wars fantasies. And of course, I can't say no to painting a Vader and some other Imperials, so end of the day, I'm probably going to wind up with everything. We all know how that goes. That's just the way it works. We're going to obviously have a lot of fun painting everything, putting colors and stuff, talking about theory, how to batch paint units, because sometimes you just want to get through that clone trip really fast, how to make your characters look really fancy, all that stuff. So we're going to have some good times. So this is our finished cape. It looks very, very lavender, I know. We're going to tone that down with some transparent washes and glazes. Oh, Cad Bane, number 1, absolute, my favorite guy. I love Cad Bane. Simone knows. I am a huge Cad Bane fan. I can't wait to paint him on the stream. It's definitely going to happen. Haven't had a chance yet to actually get the Legion Cad Bane on my painting shelf, so this is my opportunity right now. I love me some Cad Bane. I really any cocky kind of intelligent character who can overcome people with their wiles and their wits. This is my kind of character. So I'm going to move on to the pants. The pants are kind of a baby blue, so I'm just going to use my Arctic blue. And again, I've kind of thinned this down into a wash consistency. And we're just going to kind of run this over the entirety of the pants. And you're going to see that using this technique that we really like to use on these different streams, especially myself and our creative director, Dallas, who kind of turned me on to this painting style, this high contrast, using a lot of washes and Zenith primes. It gets you really great results really fast. And one of the things we like to discuss, or we like to always point out, is when you start painting, the biggest thing about it is to make sure that you have chosen the destiny, the fate of your miniature before you start. So, are you going to a painting competition? Okay, that's something else. We're going to really work the shadows. We're going to worry about highlights. We're going to work about smooth blends. We're going to really pay attention to the underside of the guy, because those are things that are going to get looked at and judged critically. If you're talking about purely from a standpoint of, I want to get an awesome looking miniature on the table, and I want to be able to be proud of what I put on and paint, but I got a lot of things to go through. I want to do a whole army, and I don't want to have to play with unpainted miniatures for very long if I can help it. Then now we're going to start talking about, okay, how do you get great results really quick? And this is one of the things that we like to really focus on with these different techniques. They're going to give you these really nice results. They're going to be quick and easy to perform and do. And if you have a couple of mistakes or some errors in certain places, that's really not a big deal. And one of the big things we always say is this is the area that you want to focus on. The face and the upper torso is what everyone's going to pay attention to. Almost nobody looks at the feet. So you can be a little sloppy or a little less precise down here. You can do less blending and highlights. If you pay attention to this section as well, this is what people are going to see. And most people, when they look at a miniature across the table, they're going to look at it from a distance, and they're going to look at it for, approximately 10 seconds. And as long as the eye picks up the really cool details, they're going to be totally happy to go. So those are just some like overall philosophy things. We're going to talk about those things a lot on these streams as we move forward. Um, you know, we will be going into kind of like more in depth. If you have questions about colors or techniques you want to see, by all means, please ask. This is like really free form. I try to pay attention to the chat as much as possible. But this is kind of just the overall thing going on. So with that said, I think our purple is really dry. We're going to let the pants dry. We're going to move on to the boots. And for the boots, I'm going to use, as an undertone layer, I'm going to use some Abyssal Blue. So I really like this color from Scale. It's like a blue-black. It has a really nice tonality to it. And when you stretch it out into a wash, it works really well to undertone your blacks. And again, because I'm using that washing technique, my paints are really thin, and I'm relying on their transparency to create transparent layers. So by undertoning or putting a solid color below, I know that that color is going to largely show through when it comes to that wash, because that wash is going to be really thin. So I can kind of play with, you think about it in terms of taking a bunch of layers of cellophane or colored like light gels, if you've ever worked in a theater or worked on different like photography. You're effectively just layering different light gels over top of each other and creating these different color blends and mixtures. And that's part of what makes this technique really fun and allows it to be really effective with minimal kind of diligence. You know, you don't have to worry about putting in the blends perfectly because you're letting the sculpted detail in the miniatures really do the work for you. The Cape expansion, I mean, it comes out with Lando, to be honest. The Cape expansion 2.0, we haven't really talked about a date for that yet, but I'm sure we'll get there. So no worries about that. You know, it will happen. All right, I'm going to go quickly to my reference. So we got to pick the right color. So the sleeves are different than the jacket. That's dope. We're going to make this work really well. So we're looking at kind of a, what do we want for that jacket? We want something a little more on the khaki brown side. That might work. We can play with that. Let's try this. All right, so I'm going to use some Sahara yellow here. That's kind of like the base coat for my tunic. We'll see how this kind of works out. And I'm going to hit this in. Again, I'm going to use the same technique here. So I'm going to thin this out into a little bit of a wash. And we're just going to play with it. I think for this, I'm going to have this be the main tunic color because the sleeves are a little different in the image that I'm looking at, which it looks like a nice little publicity photo from Return of the Jedi. So we're just going to blend this in. Oh, no, that's pretty bright. I actually think I'll do this over the whole tunic, and then we'll use some washes on the torso to change the colors, and that'll be good. Just kind of knock this in. Get going here. Boop-a-doop-doo. We'll kick this all out. Set that in like that. We'll let that dry. Yeah, that'll give us a nice base to work from. So we have a very Easter ready looking Lando here. I don't know if I'd say it looks amazing yet. He looks like he's ready to go hunt eggs in a field somewhere. But we're gonna tone all this down and make it a little less crazy. So I'm gonna grab Inktense Blue, and we're gonna start working on the cape and those pants. And I'm going to turn this into a glaze, and we're going to use this for the cape to try to pull it back into that periwinkle shade, because we are very, very lavender right now. So there's some really fun, like, 1980s colors going on here. So I'm going to use a little bit of Glazed Medium from Vallejo. This is a really great tool. It's basically a flow aid and extender. It's the same kind of material that goes into the paints to separate out the pigments. So unlike water, it retains a lot of that cohesion and adhesion action. It doesn't separate out the pigments and cause them to be splotchy. So used in conjunction with other stuff like water, it can help you really stretch out those paints and make some really nice washes that are really thin. It's especially important for glazing, where we just want to very subtly tint our colors and we don't want to overtake it. So you can see, like on my thumb, what we're trying to do here is we're just gonna take this wash, and you can see how just putting that over subtly changes the tint of that lavender into more of a periwinkle like we're looking for. So no Holder Blue. No, I don't think we're gonna be pulling a Holder Blue on this guy, actually. It might be one of those instances, you know? It's a whole new world out there. It's a whole new world. So we're gonna see. I'm gonna use a little bit more glaze just to get a bit better coverage. This little stick. And then we'll go in and we'll just start layering this on. I'm gonna bring this in, spread it out. I want this to be really thin and pretty even. So we're looking for not a lot of pooling here, although the wash will kind of help tint those crevices and cracks. But this is a process, and glazing can take, you know, multiple coats typically. You don't want to do it all in one, so you do want, you know, nice thin smooth layers. And pull that color down, and you have a lot of working time because of course the glaze is really thinned out. There's a lot of liquid to it, so you can really take your time and make sure that it stretches where you want it to. And again, this probably will take 2 or 3 coats to get to a final result where we're pretty happy with it, and we've got that periwinkle kind of going on depending on the final result we want. We could use a more traditional wash to really tone down everything, but I wanted to play with the glaze first. And the big thing are watching puddles like that and like this, and just making sure that we have everything really smooth and even for the most part going forward. There we go. We'll come back over here, get the inside of that cape. I'm gonna use a little bit of a darker wash. Ooh, that's really blue. It's probably too much. That's okay though. A little less of Easter eggs. I mean, we're getting to that time where eggs are a thing, you know, fertility and spring celebrations and all of that. It's happening. It's happening. So bring this up, come down, and come over here. But you know, like I was a little surprised. I didn't really remember Lando's, you know, outfit colors. I remember Lando being awesome and Millennium Falcon and all that. You look at it and, you know, it's very pastel. There's some interesting color choices that the costumer made. I'll be the first to admit, I'm not a huge periwinkle fan. So, you know, dealing with periwinkle here would certainly not be my first choice, but here we are. Here we are, making a really fancy periwinkle cape. So you can see now how we've got that blue getting in there. As this starts to dry, it's really going to take into effect, and you're going to start to see things that. And again, glazing is definitely something that's going to take 1 or 2 times. If you want to get really fancy in the glazing, sometimes it can take up to 15 layers, but I don't think we're going to go that far. So the pants and the ice blue, just to kind of kick them back down, we're going to come in and we're going to hit them with the same glaze. This is going to give us that kind of powdery blue look that we wanted out of the pants. We'll kind of let that dry as well. For this one, I'm using a bit of a thicker wash. So I have a couple of different wells in my palette going on. I have my really thinned down glaze. I've got my thicker blue wash we can play with. So we're just kind of like going to knock this out really quick. That, get it going. Back in there. I have those blue pants going on. I see that I'm getting a lot of pooling right back here, so I just want to get in there and kind of clean that up a little bit. Even though on the interior of the cape, no one's really going to look too hard, and we can darken that up as well. All right, so let's go on to the boots. So for the boots, I'm just going to grab some black wash, which is right here. So I'm just going to use some pre-mixed Vallejo black wash. You can absolutely make up your own black wash really easily. You can use inks for washes. You can do all kinds of different things. You can thin out paints, all those things. But I find that the Vallejo black wash works pretty well for this. I like to add just a little drop of flat black into it just to give it a bit more tooth, because I do want this to be pretty strong. And so I'm just going to go in and hit this up and get it going. And look at the boots really quick. I gotta look at the belt. I'm actually not sure what color the belt is, but that's why I keep my reference up. And honestly, this is more of an inspired by Lando anyway, because we're not going to match everything perfectly. And I'll be honest, Simone is probably telling me that I used the wrong reference right now, because there's so many different variations and stuff going on. We're actually going to use this on the gun too. The blaster pistol. Yeah. Why not? We'll do this on the blaster pistol just to start. So again, we're just going to let that zenith prime really work for us here. And let those highlights and those shadows play through on our wash. So the blaster pistol nice and goes, then we can come back in and hit things out. Let's go to the tunic. I'm going to use a little bit of, where's my stuff here? Not that. We want, yeah, this will work. So I'm going to use some ochre ink tints, and I'm going to mix that with a little bit of brown ink tints right here. We're going to thin that out, and we're going to turn it into a nice kind of thinned out brown. Let's take a look. And I'm only going to hit the interior of the tunic. You know what? I realize the sleeves are different, but do I care that much? Do I care that much? I do. I do. Okay. We're going to go in and we're just going to hit this stuff. So I'm going to leave the sleeves alone. We'll use a different color on those. So we're just going to get in and we're going to get that tunic to be a little bit darker. I made a mistake, but this is why I keep my secondary brush handy, so I can just come in and pull that off. And should get all the folds and stuff. There we go. All right, so Orlando's slowly coming together here. Okay, we'll let those colors dry. It looks like, well, it looks like we're getting pretty close to that glazed medium dry. So you can already see how the color has tinted off. And we have a lot less purple and a little more of that periwinkle action going on. I think I'll come in, so it looks dry enough. We'll just do one more really quick glaze layer. And we'll hope that it's dry enough, because we only get an hour and we want to try to get this fella, this smug, dashing scoundrel, kind of tabletop ready in about an hour is what I like to do with single character minis on streams. And of course, there's always times where we can go back and we can clean them up and make them fancier and take it to that next level. I kind of like to show how quick and easy some of the stuff can be if you just approach it in the right way with the right mentality. And one of the fun things about this project is we are really just picking these colors on the fly to try to match a photo reference rather than the image in our head. All right. So that's where we're at. I'm going to switch over and grab some colors for the skin. I'm going to use a little bit of basic flesh tone. I'm going to use a little bit of, yeah, sure, why not? That seems fine. Brown leather. And we're going to play with those and just see where we kind of wind up with our color scheme. We're going to do our best to kind of match that warm complexion, that handsome visage of Billy D. Williams has going on here. So I'm looking for a little bit of an umber to start as kind of my base. While our wash is dry. And then we'll basically use that basic skin tone to add in for highlights. And maybe we'll go to some Ishtar pink and stuff, depending on how that's really treating us. But for the moment, we're just going to create kind of a wash out of this stuff. We're going to go in. We're just going to get in our shadows, in our shades. And then we'll pick these up. And again, I'm using thinned out kind of wash consistencies. That'll help me see where those highlight areas are, where those recesses are, all of that good stuff. And we can build off of that as much as we want, or, you know, if we're happy with where we get, we can just leave it at that too. We could go in and we could detail out the hair and kind of call this boy good. And that's one of the fun things about, you know, painting in general, and especially utilizing techniques like this, is that you do get a lot of freedom and flexibility, because you can kind of leave things after the first coat and say, okay, well, I've got that nice zenith prime highlight going on, so I don't really need to worry about it anymore. Or you can easily build off of that, go back in and make everything look nicer. So faces can be really tricky. Painting eyes is definitely difficult. I am definitely still learning when it comes to that stuff. You know, I've made progress. I would never paint a full unit worth of eyes though. Like that's just not the life I want to live. There's a lot of good ways to kind of cheat painting the actual pupils and stuff of the eyes to speed that up, making the sockets just kind of naturally darker, utilizing like purple washes or red washes to kind of get that life and that flavor, that feeling in the eyes. And then not worrying about, you know, doing the whites or anything like that is absolutely an option, and one that I utilize all the time. So you should never feel like, you know, you have to do the eyes specifically. There's always ways you can go about kind of making it look good, again, from the tabletop. And I would never take that approach if I was trying to enter a painting competition or something like that. You're talking about a very different kind of life and expectations. But when it comes to like the stuff I'm going to put on the table with my friends and at the game store, absolutely, I'm going to go ahead and just take those little outs and make things look cool and fun and good. But I'm not going to spend all of my life trying to get the eye dots to be perfectly right, or I'm going to have to invest in some really good magnifiers. All right, so we got that going on. We have our first skin tone down. Our washes are drying out really good. The boots are looking good. I need to figure out what color that belt is. The belt is black along with the strap, so that's cool. We'll just hop right back to our black wash, which is still on the palette. And we'll apply that. We'll do an undertone really quick on that gray though. I'm going to grab, what do I want here? I want something kind of like rainy gray maybe. Ugh. Yeah, this will work. So I'm going to use rainy gray, which is a nice kind of greenish tint gray. We're going to just use this again as an undertone before we put that black wash on, and that black wash is going to stay nice and wet on our palette because it's got a lot of liquid to it. So you're probably getting tired of me saying, just going to wash that in. I'll let that go. Then we'll come back to the strap here, color in that, and this. And then looks great. Let that dry, and then we'll hop in and we'll get going. All right, so we got that going on. We can move on to the hair. What do we want to do for the hair here? So the hair is pretty dark, pretty close to a black. I think we can probably get away with got a little bit of that brown to it though. Let's do this. Let's go go back to our skin tone base. We're just going to use some of that brown leather, and we're going to block this in. And again, we're going to use this as an undertone. So this is just that brown leather. Then what we'll do is we'll do a wash of black, thinned out black over top of it. That'll give us some nice detail in the crevices and the cracks. It'll give us that kind of black-brown hair. This, again, is probably an effect of the picture that I'm looking at, but if I'm going off of this reference, he kind of has like this brownish halo around his hair from the lights and the grain of the camera. So I'm just going to go with it. We're going to make that kind of work for us. I see that I have this gross puddle here, so I'm going to ruin everything by fixing it. Yar! That's fine. And then we've got the rope around the neck. Oh, the bands. All right, so that wristband is going to be black. And then we have the little badge. Okay, we're doing pretty good. We're doing pretty good. I'm pretty happy with this. We're cranking right along. I like it. I like it. I like it a lot. Okay, so I think that skin is dry. Let's drive back to the skin. Just really free forming it here. Just bouncing around everywhere. So I'm going to take my initial mix. I'm going to mix in some basic skin. And we're just going to start playing it. Talk about this a little bit, but you can always make your own skin tones just by starting with a base of white, black, and yellow, effectively. It's what every skin tone base kind of starts at, and then you can just add in other colors. So you can always add in things like greens and pinks and purples and all kinds of stuff. You never have to be too afraid of getting skin tones wrong. Everybody's skin tone's a little different. So there's no wrong way to really do it. Now trying to match somebody's skin tone, like photorealistically, obviously there's considerations to make, but this is kind of more of an artistic interpretation, we'll say, because I know that we're not gonna match Billy D's beautiful complexion perfectly here. We're just gonna give it our best go and have him ready to be awesome on the table. So I'm just kind of looking at a little bit more basic flesh tone into that mix. Now I'm just trying to like pick out the volumes of the face, so cheekbones, the nose. And then what I'll do is I'll grab my second brush and I can kind of blend these colors together so that they're a little less stark. And having that second brush again, so useful for blending out colors, fixing mistakes, kinds of different options. I'm going to take that color, I'm going to mix in even more of my basic flesh tone, which I've now misplaced. And it went, where did you go? Basic flesh, we'll use this. All right, found it. Build this back in. We're doing pretty good. We got 40 minutes down, a little bit more to go. Check out the chat really quick. All right, here we go. Yeah, I'm liking that. Okay. So now we have our highlight color here. Come in, and again, we're just looking to accentuate the volumes of the face. So tip of the nose, getting those eyebrows set up. Tippy top of the forehead, cheekbones, under the eyes. Just blend that out. chin. Come back over here. These cheekbones. Under the eye, I can pull that down. Kind of that really nice glow on the skin. Oop, I got into the eye socket, so I'm just going to blend. Use my other brush and just pull that out. There we go. Let's come back in and do one more pass over the eyebrows and stuff, just to kind of accentuate those, and I think we'll be pretty happy with that. Yeah, that feels pretty good. So that face going on, it's pretty nice. We pulled out all the character from it pretty easily. Just a couple of things. We still have to hit. We'll have to hit the mustache and things like that, but we'll get to that here in a second. I'm feeling pretty good. We got our nice periwinkle cloak. That was done really quick and simple. We got some nice differentiation on the pants. They're now this nice powdery blue. I want to lighten up the sleeves a little bit, so I'm going to use some Lilith yellow, and I'm going to mix that in with our Sahara Sands color that we were using, which we have a little bit of. And we're just kind of going to go in, and we're going to hit up these highlights a little bit. And get a little bit on the cloak, so we'll just fix that really quick with our brush. Again, this is the strength of having that brush kind of out in there. We'll come over here. And this is really based again off that image that I'm looking at, where the sleeves are certainly a different color than the main tunic. And this is by no means probably the most accurate representation of that color, but it'll work for the time being. We'll get that sensation going on. I'll let our studio painter extraordinaire Brendan bother with the pure color matching here. I'm just going to get it close. All right, so looking really good. Our grays are tried. Let's go back to our black. And we're just going to run the black around the belt. All the different pockets, and we'll let that undertone kind of play through. Come up. He's got his holster here from whence his blaster was drawn. I'm just going to carefully kind of come in. And go over here. Knock that out really quick. All right. And I want to thin this out a bit more. Oops. Find the dry spot on my palette here. There we go. I'm going to thin this wash out a bit. I'm going to pull it over the hair. Might even thin it out just a little bit more. It's pretty dark, but we'll see how it dries. Going on that hair. I'm going to do the mustache. Sculpt guys on that. a little sloppy right there. Let's clean that off. Off one more time because I'm struggling with that side. There we go. So we got our hair going on, we got that going on. We got to do the strap across the cloak. And we got to do little plates, and then we should do some dark lining, do the metals, and I think we will have ourselves a pretty good table ready Lando. I'm going to grab a little bit of the ochre wash. I'm going to add a little yellow to it, and I just want to like thin down and color those sleeves a little bit. His flaw card, how do you even know that he has a flaw card? I don't even know what you're talking about. I would 100% love to show you that card, but I think I will let Mr. Luke Eddy have the glory when we can bring him on in the next stream. How about that, chat? What do you think of that? Normally he'd be on here right now chatting your ear off about different things, and I'd be asking all these intelligent questions because I'm really good at that. But instead, we're just going to enjoy our painting time today. We're just going to kind of like get ourselves a Lando all painted up for the table. There we go. Gives a little bit of differentiation in those. Ooh, all right. So interestingly enough, I'm going to play a little bit with this. Next stream for me, will be Wednesday at 1 p.m. Pacific, and we'll be having, hopefully we'll have solved the audio technical issues that we're having today with Mr. Luke, and he will be on during the later half of the stream to just kind of talk about the things that we're painting, and we'll just have some fun, and he can give some insight into the development and the design of some things. Should be pretty good. Because obviously, he had a very involved and primary hand in developing the game rules for these guys that we're going to be painting. And Mr. Schaefer will be working on the other release alongside Lando this Friday. He'll be painting an Agent Callus. I'm sure that will be a great stream. I plan on hanging out, seeing what he does with that awesome Rebels character. So we're just going to go across and hitting this string here, and we can come back and shadow it out later. I'm going to use some black metal, and we're going to get the symbol badge and stuff done. We do need to change that cuff because the cuff on the side is actually like some kind of armband with a little bit of digital readouts to it. We're just going to come in and we're going to hit this. His general insignia plate here. That covered in our metallic. And we're going to come back over here and I'm going to hit these buttons in our metallic just because. There we go. Then we have this. We've got these little symbols here in metallic as well. So we'll get those going. Started really quick. And good. I'm going to add a little bit of metallic sheen to our blaster pistol here. I'm just going to hit kind of the upper edges with this metallic. Let most of the flat black through. But this will kind of give us that sci-fi gun sheen. Just a little bit more pop. What am I going to do for the next 50? I'm not done. I mean, and let's be honest, I could totally spend another probably 2 hours on this guy. Just really getting into the details and cleaning up my color choices and stuff. And certainly plenty of places to take this fella. still if we wanted to. And we're just trying to do something that's hopefully shows how you can get really nice tabletop results pretty quick and easy. Especially useful for when you have a whole army to paint and you want to get everything just looking good for that next battle you got over the weekend and stuff. But overall, we should go back to that black metal. We can hit this thing right here. This little buckle. This buckle right here. Yeah, that's one of the really fun parts about the hobby, and one of the things I love about painting is it's so open to whatever you want to do with it at the time. You want to spend an hour and just knock something out really quick and something that's going to look good on the table, you can do that. You want to sit down for several sessions over the course of a couple of weeks and create just an immaculate piece of art or really challenge yourself. You can absolutely do that too. There's no right or wrong answers. Basing wise, yeah, I can show you. My basing is pretty simple. Can I do it without knocking over the camera is the real question. So these were some of the B1s I painted with my kids over the course of the weekend. So this is my younger son's B1 color scheme. He did all the red piping himself. But yeah, so that's kind of the basing that we do. So I just lay down some simple sand mix that I've had forever, and then I take an artist umber. I thin it out really good, put it over the sand, do a little dry bracing, and then slap on a little bit of static grass. So it's a pretty general, like normal base, and then I like to do the rims in black. That's just kind of a thing. So I'll be doing that with him as well, just to make it work. But yeah, we've been having a lot of fun overall with it. It's been going. Yeah, delegate the painting duties. I mean, yeah, we got that. That's the youngest one. He chose the droids, and then the oldest one is he's all in on the clones. So here's the oldest one's clones that he's been working on. He was very excited about blue and green as the company markings. He's got to come up with a name for them, but that's what he went with. So I was pretty impressed that he pushed through it. But that's it. So this has been our tabletop battle over the last weekend. It's been these two little forces fighting off against each other. We're looking forward to doing our first fully painted game for everything. So that's kind of the base. That's the general basing that I like to do. I mean, you get really crazy with it. It can be fun to work with cork and do, you can do like Mustafar lava style bases and stuff. Like you can get away with a lot of crazy things, but overall, I usually like to keep it simple, especially on bigger things. Unless there's a reason. I've been really playing with the idea of trying to do something on Barin for the Clone Wars and really messing with a weird color scheme. I think for that, I'd obviously want to do something pretty unique and different, but I haven't quite got there yet. Okay, so I just want to really quick hit the collar of the shirt, which I noticed that I missed. I'm just going to come in and detail that out. And then I think we're going to put a little glaze on that rope. And that'll be good. And then I still need to hit that. Rebel insignias are usually like they got red dots on them. So let's grab a little bit of this. So I'm just going to grab this Garnet Alchemy, which is a really cool red metallic from the scale range. And I just want to come in over on this insignia, and I'm just going to like hit the dots with it. I don't know if this is canon accurate, but I just want to give it a little bit of color so that it pops out really nice. Let you know that, you're talking to a general. Come on now. Show some respect, people. Show some respect. I don't actually know if these things on the shoulders should be colored, but we're going to do that. I really like this color. I got to be honest. I should never pull it out because once I start painting it, I never want to stop. It's just such a neat effect. what else do I want to do here before our time is up? We got 7 minutes left. I gotta do the, darn it, I gotta do the band. I keep saying the band is black, and then I haven't actually like done anything on it. So let's get that done. Let's do the black band. Duh. So this thing is actually like an armband. Now that I'm looking at that picture. So we will just lay in our abyssal blue really quick. Not using the wash anymore because we've passed that stage because we painted it yellow like the shirt sleeve first. So we're just gonna hit this stuff out, get this going. There we go. I might go in just for funsies because I got the color out. I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna hit the tips of the boots. I'm gonna accentuate some of the folds a little bit. Just because I can. Why not? A little bit of time. Some top of that. Just boots in there a little extra. Yeah, pretty good. The band all colored down. We can shade that down if we want to. Notice that I missed kind of the shoulder pad somehow. So I'll fix that really quick. And then, oh yeah, the sick chain holding the cape together, I know. Well, is it a chain or is it a rope? Because the image I'm looking at, it looks like a rope. I need one of you excellent Star Wars folks to let me know if I'm wrong on that. I thought it was a rope. There we go. We got it colored. We gotta shade it. Nunchucks? I guess they do. Yeah, that's true. Nunchucks do have chains. So we want to do a chain on that? We can do a chain. We do a gold chain. I'm cool with that. It's easier to do than rope anyway. Let's grab a little bit of our Viking gold. Thank you very much. Yeah. He's a bit of a Viking. He's a scoundrel. We'll just come in and hit that chain. Careful not to get any in the collar. Then we can come back in. We'll grab a little bit of the Citron Alchemy, which is a really, really almost white gold. It's actually a pretty neat color. I'll just give it a little bit of spot highlights. Come in and find those individual pieces of the chain. Since it's a chain now, not a rope, thank you. My Atomic Mass Games cronies, thank you for making sure I didn't make a fool of myself on this first stream, or at least more of a fool of myself than I might have otherwise. There, now we've got that super fly chain going on. We're good there. We've got our nice periwinkle cloak, which we did with our glazes. We got the Lando complexion. He's looking really smiley and happy. I think we can maybe give him some choppers. And then that might be all the time we have for this week. So let's test it out. Let's see if we can do this. So I'm just gonna balance myself really good. Kind of looks like he's supposed to have choppers. So we'll make a mess first. We'll blend it out. Oop. Blend it out just a little too much. There we go. Now you can really tell he's smiling. Those nice teeth showing. Sweet. I think. Needs more dewbacks. Man, everybody needs things today. It's just a day of like great needs. All right, so with that, I'm pretty happy with this tabletop version of our Lando Calrissian here. Painted up really nice and quick. He is ready to bring a whole bunch of new awesomeness to my Legion Rebel Army, which is currently in process. Looks like we have a little bit of a, ooh, we got a little spot on the back of the arm. I'll fix that up in a second. But overall, again, a really simple approach, just the Zenith Prime, using a lot of different washes and glazes to bring down the color. Working on that face, making sure that looks really poppy and nice. Overall, very happy with this less than an hour work on Lando to get us a commander that is ready to go on the tabletop, leading our forces to victory against that sinister, sinister empire. So, with that said, I'm going to pull this camera off of myself, and we're going to close out this first show. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining me for our first Wednesday Star Wars hobby stream. Be sure to tune in on Friday at 1 p.m. to join John Schaefer, who's going to be painting Agent Callus and talking a little bit about that dastardly devil for the Imperials. And of course, we're going to be back every Wednesday and Friday after that at 1 p.m. Pacific to continue our hobby journey and excitement about all things Star Wars. So not just Legion, we're also going to be looking at doing other things in the future. I do hope to have everything figured out so we can have Luke Eddy, lead developer for Legion, as well, join us on the stream to talk a little bit about the design and development process, which we love to do on these things, as well as diving into the hobby and all of that stuff. So be sure to watch out for that. Otherwise, folks, thanks so much for joining me today. Have a wonderful day. Continue to keep those brushes loaded with paint, and I can't wait to see what you do. Hit us up on all of the Facebook channels as well. We got Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that great stuff. We love to see what you all are working on. So be sure to use all of those to watch out for the latest and greatest information. And we will be rolling out some exciting hobby stuff as well for the community moving forward. And of course, don't forget, this March, we're going to have an awesome con extravaganza for you all. It's going to be 3 days of total awesome content, hobby streams, dev streams, hangouts, all of that good stuff. We're also going to have a few surprises in there as well for you. We're really looking forward to having that time to just get to know each other, to spend some quality hobby weekending, and kind of get that con experience in the safest way that we can in the current global situation. So until then, be sure to check out all the latest and greatest information on our social media. Otherwise, stay safe, be good to each other, and we will see you on the next one. Goodbye.